Today's video is sponsored by Casey. If you're in the repair business, I'm sure that you've heard of them by now. This is one of the silicone mats that they sent me. These are heat resistant, and one of the ones that I used to use, well, what I have been using is this. So you can see there's a huge size difference, which is awesome for me because I've been wanting something with a larger area. This one actually comes with an anti-static strap, and they call it their Mac insulation pad. So you can see this is a really good size mat. Now if you don't need something quite that big, there is something in the middle, kind of medium size right here, and this one is the 15.7 by 11 inch. This is 550 millimeters by 430. I'm not sure why one is standard and one is metric, but in any case, good quality heat resistant mats. I'll put a link in the video description below if you want to check them out. All right, let's get this video started. Today I've got a Samsung A32 5G with nothing displaying on the screen. An interesting thing here, I've got my power supply connected to the same place that my overhead light is getting power from, and the moment that I plug this in, it actually turns off my light. So we've got an issue here that may be worse than what the customer initially thought, because they said they had a damaged connector on the board and that's why there was no display, but I am not sure that is the case. So let's hook it up to the amp meter and see what happens. Alright, so we've got power over here, and this is the other end of the charging cable. Okay, and that is shorting out our meter immediately, so we've got something here a little more serious than just a damaged connector, unless the connector itself is shorted somehow. So I'm going to open this up, get it under the microscope, and see what's going on. Well, this is kind of good news. We definitely have some damage to the connector here. So as you can see, I'll zoom in here for you. This happens a lot on Samsungs after a screen is replaced. I suspect I know the reason why, but in any case, what's happening here is when the connector is plugged in, it is causing the short in the system. And once I opened up the phone and got the connector off of this, where it was plugged in, the short actually went away. So that's good news. Our problem is actually going to be this connector right here. And I think what's happening is that on the Samsungs, when there's a screen replacement or other repair done, when the technician goes to plug these in, what you're going to find is that this cable is just long enough to reach the connector. So sometimes it isn't quite lined up properly, and attempting to use brute force to plug this in is just going to make these things disintegrate. In addition to the cable not quite reaching, it seems like Samsung lately has made has been using some very fragile parts, because these things are very easy to damage without much force. The same was true for a while with the battery connector and some of the other parts, but this display or main cable connector here has really become an issue. So do be careful when you plug these in and unplug them. I'm going to go ahead and pull the motherboard out and we'll get this thing replaced. Okay, I've already removed all of the cameras, by the way, which is a good idea because they don't really love heat. Hopefully this little sticker is going to come off in one piece. I think I do like these. Are a lot easier to remove than iPhone stickers. Over here we've got our 78 pin connector that we are going to replace. So I'll get that out of the package. Now there are a couple of ways you can go about installing the new connector. You can actually put it down first and then add the solder, but today I'm going to go ahead and put solder on here before we install it. Both ways are effective, just depends on your personal preference. See if we got that centered. Not quite. I think we're off by a hair. Let's see. Come this direction, and I think we need to go down just a hair. At least on one end. And over here. Alright, get it. Those look like that'll work. And I just have to put some pressure down here, I think. Let's see. Alright, ought to do it. Make sure this side is stuck down all the way. Whatever you do, do not push down on the plastic part of the connector. The metal over here is safe, but the other stuff bends really easy, especially when it's warm. Alright, and then we'll just touch these up. Now, using a very small tip to attach these pads to the board creates a bit of a challenge as far as keeping things warm enough, so I am still using my hot air set at about 200 C just to maintain a slightly higher temperature on the motherboard, so this is easier. Alright, that ought to do it. Let's clean it up and take a close look. Let's check these joints. Let's see. Alright, so as you can see, these are looking healthy all the way across. Gotta get a little more of this flux out of here. But that's what we're looking for. We'll check the other side. And looks like we are just about ready for reassembly. So I'll go ahead and clean this up a little more. You want to make sure there's no flux trapped in here, because that can lead to issues later down the line. Even if you put the foam back together and it works, you might end up with some image or touch issues later on. So do make sure you get this cleaned up to where there's no more flux on the inside. And we are back in business.